All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Vivy Fluorite Eye Song, episode 9.
All right, well, Antonio.
Yeah.
Hello there.
Okay.
Yeah,
This
that
is
was a twist.
This is a development, and I'm not. I don't know what this means.
Right.
This is some crazy shit that's been happening, but like, how does it change the motivations for the characters?
How does it potentially
and,
change the timeline?
Yeah.
Is this a result of things being different?
Mm-hmm.
Is this a more of a revelation that things were always this way?
Right. And then we also had that whole situation with the Toke look-alike potential descendant or whatever, that the backstory with like a musician AI that was teaching him and stuff. But okay.
But also tried to save
Right.
everybody,
which caused them to die. And
which I think is set up for the idea of a mission that is impossibly vague, and a vague mission that basically leads to people being put into a really bad situation.
And what is their role here in this current arc? Because they still haven't been tied into everything yet. So
well, they definitely were instrumental in setting up maybe the thing that happened to Vivy when she chased after them.
Right, and the hacking and stuff. Because yeah, right.
So we'll see on that front. But y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. Holy animation.
That was gorgeous.
That was gorgeous. Yeah.
Beautiful on another level. Like we've seen some things
Fight
with
choreography.
Vivy. That was incredible.
The art style change up for electronic warfare stuff.
Yep.
For
that was super fun.
Just the way in which we saw like his body like distend out and have like a cannon inside of it. Like I loved the action this episode. The action was insane.
The action and also the world building, I feel like, because there were some because we don't spend too much time in any particular like slice of the timeline, you know, and because it's changing from the original timeline that Matsumoto's familiar with.
Right.
It can be a complicated process to basically make sure that the audience is kept up to speed with whatever developments happen, and that can lead to them being able to be used for like fun twists of like, no, this guy isn't a descendant of the Toke guy. It's actually the Toke guy. He found a way to get himself in a robot body.
Yep.
Cool. Okay.
Yep. And there's a beautiful twisted aspect to that, in that his AI tutor back when he was a kid was one that was indistinguishable in the way he was being treated from either being human or AI, and they couldn't tell which one it was, so they couldn't choose. So now he kind of merges with AI in order to find a way to have the answer to his question of what's the point of all this? What's the point of your existence?
Right.
Why should you even exist at all?
Yes.
And so her answer to her question is, well, her mission. I'm going to carry it out with the best I have. I'm going to put everything I have into that.
Which is, I feel like that's kind of like a nice analogy to, when humans have the idea of nihilism brought up, right? And it's the what's the point of it, right?
Yeah,
there's everyone has their like different answers for that, but there isn't really a way to properly answer that question, right?
Yeah.
It's more of a thing of, well, you're here, so what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
What is your mission, right?
Yeah.
And there you go.
What do you choose to put your everything into?
Right.
Or what are you going to choose to, how are you going to choose to divvy up your everything?
Yeah.
Like, that's something that, regardless of whether or not, nihilism is a thing that you kind of
subscribe to or
use as a foundation for the building blocks of your, belief systems about the world or what have you, it doesn't really matter. The idea is that you still have the capacity to do things. What meaning are you going to put into those things by how much of you put into them? So, yeah. Vivy chooses to do this thing because it is her mission. She chooses to put everything into this because it's her mission. And yeah, there's aspects of this where it's not necessarily going to work out perfectly.
No.
But, I mean,
there's complications along the way, things where you end up having a part of your personality that gets written off to a small corner of your internal world room, But,
yeah, might need to, take turns in that regard. I
Right.
did like how the idea of, through the course of this episode, there was a lot of talk about basically existence and what the value basically of that. You could call it life then, but since we're dealing with AI where they're not biologically living, it's more like they're aware, they're sentient, they're true individuals in that regard. But a lot of that was something that the characters in the story were actually robbing from another in order to try and basically help carry out the original purpose that they had. So Antonio here
Sure.
being someone
Yeah.
who very much lost sight of really kind of the thing that maybe even in some ways that the mentor, the tutor of Yugo kind of clued into, is that I'm going to fulfill my mission, put everything of me into this. But if you do that, you are not going to then end up becoming her. That's not a part of your mission with regards to supporting her.
Right.
That's something that you interpreted based on, what you thought would be you then doing her mission for her,
Right. And
which isn't supporting her.
Uh-huh.
That's actually just dominating and taking over. And in
Right.
some ways, like, that's the part of where the tragedy of Antonio is that this happened because in a lot of ways that you pushed this thing to its limit. Like, maybe you don't have
it didn't
the
have to go this way. Yeah.
Right, but maybe the sad part about it is that Antonio still didn't have the truest capacity to support her if she doesn't know how to complete her mission. The idea that
Sure.
Ophelia also was in a really screwed up situation, and that short of actually getting an answer from her hero in a way that could be communicated so perfectly that she actually like, I get it, the answer,
Has that
worked.
moment of clarity and yeah.
Right. That didn't happen. In some ways,
Right.
In some ways, there's also a sadness in that the final bit of this episode when Vivy is getting the answer from Diva of what is it? Well, she's like, you'll hear it in the song. And then she's like, no, I didn't. I couldn't get it. And it's like, oh shit. I mean, that's the thing. Some people would say the answer has to come from within, or the answer has to come from someone who has been on that road, But both instances in this case didn't lead to a clean answer.
No.
It's something maybe that you have to individually choose. Maybe there's something where the answer, like nihilism, there is no clean, true answer to it. It's something that you
What are you
kind
gonna
of
do
have
about
to,
it?
you kind of have to choose your own mission, maybe.
Yeah.
Or choose your own way to interpret the mission
Sure.
so that you can continue existing.
There was something about like the way that this went that had like felt like kind of a fun nod to Shakespeare, with the whole Ophelia and Antonio thing, in that the situation was with Antonio and Ophelia at the end of this episode was very much one of Antonio's own making, right? Like because what he wanted to do ended up actually working really well, right? We had been told in the previous episode that after Antonio shut down under mysterious circumstances, right?
Right.
That her career ended up taking off, right? Now
Yeah.
part of that might have been because of the story of, oh no, was it,
Right.
was it some tragedy or whatever? But it was also because, he was able to help her with her nerves and things like that and get her to the point where she could function a bit more, a bit better on stage, right?
Right.
Cool. But he kind of ended up, it was that whole thing where, if you're overriding her, then are you actually helping her sing, right? To the point where, oh no, she's totally gone, right? She's already dead. She died a long time ago.
Yeah.
And he believes that. He truly believes that. But then at the end, no, that actually wasn't quite right.
No, all it took is a little bit of finagling from a higher power of technological prowess to rip you from her, put you back in your original body, and then have you realize, oh shit, wait.
What have I done?
What have I done?
Yeah.
The only
Right.
thing I really wanted was for you to sing for me. Like that was really all I wanted. I really wanted just So you could tell. I think there's the beauty of this is that Antonio wanted to communicate to Ophelia how happy he made her in a way that would have been supportive. And yet he didn't know how. He just didn't know. Maybe he realized it too late.
How happy he made her, or how happy she made him?
How happy she made him, basically.
Okay.
Because if she sang for him,
Right, yeah.
then that would make him happy. Yeah. It's like no, that's not it. What I really wanted was you to sing for me and no one else, basically.
Yeah. And the thing is that that's kind of what you had back then. Because, I mean,
Yeah.
she didn't have much of a crowd, right?
Right.
But,
Right.
yeah.
But it's beautiful in that his mission was to support her, right? But his desire here is not a part of the mission. That's a selfish desire.
That's true.
It's a thing that basically is in the course of my mission, in the course of basically in an area, and this is probably why he went a bit rampant, is that his mission ran contrary to what he intrinsically desired to basically find some element of purpose or meaning in the mission, was that if she sings especially for me, I will feel, fill in the blank here.
Okay.
Wonderful
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And then he realizes that at the end here, and that was probably why he was so, frustrated and stuff with her, a bit of a grumpy robot, And then she kind of has this moment of, wait, Antonio, that's all that ever mattered. The one I wanted to bring happiness to the most was you.
Right.
That's all I ever wanted. And she's dead.
Yeah, they finally get that communication.
That catharsis, yeah.
Right as they die.
Right as they die.
Yep. Which is
that's the tragedy of it.
Yep.
Yeah. And we here realizing the presence of, the future, that things are going to shit eventually for AIs and humans. We have here something rather special in that we have the machine and AI that are essentially the same thing in terms of, the AI is a machine, right?
Yeah.
But she's reached that point, if you will,
where she doesn't look like a machine,
where she's basically become
right.
human.
If you didn't know that she was an AI, you might think she's a human. Yeah.
Right, but now they might be a symbol of something completely different here.
Okay.
If this is their death.
Sure, then maybe yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that I'm very, even though
what is this going to mean for the future?
Right, we probably won't get any more in this timeline, because I'm guessing it'll go then to another spot in the timeline,
yeah,
right?
Matsumoto and now Vivy
right.
will probably catch up to speed and
maybe
set the plan for whatever the next stage is.
Sure. And we might get a nod back to this arc in this part in the timeline of okay, how did people end up interpreting this?
Yeah,
because,
probably after the time skip.
Right, because this certainly doesn't look like even a lover suicide between AI. This looks like they were brutally murdered, right? Which is then its own whole thing, but maybe it doesn't have as much of an impact on society because, okay, 2 AI were killed, right? But murders happen all the time, right?
Right.
So okay, that's just its own thing.
Yeah, it could be interpreted as a lover suicide,
Right.
I don't think it will be, but
yeah, the missing arm for Antonio.
Yes, is a bit.
There were very clear signs of some kind of struggle that went on up there.
Right. But all right.
The other one that was kind of interesting here, and this is one of the I ended up actually being a bit confused by this episode, and we needed to go back through it just so that I could make sure I had a handle on everything, and I think that was because we had several different characters in this episode that were getting their motivations fleshed out, but a lot of them also were not in very stable mental states.
Yeah.
So it was also something where it had to be kind of parsed out.
Yeah.
So
in the midst of all the glorious action
and animation,
distracting us visually.
Right. Exactly.
Sure, yeah.
So with Antonio's case, no, he didn't actually do this in all the other timelines. It was just in this one, and he was able to do that because AI had advanced faster because of AI has been advancing faster on this timeline.
He's a result of the butterfly effect.
Right,
basically.
exactly. Yeah. He sees all the things that are the precursors to, you know what, he doesn't know at the time, but Matsumoto would look back and be like, yes, that is going to lead to Ophelia's suicide, and so he does this to try and stop her, and it doesn't work out well, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then with
Ophelia?
no, with Yugo.
Hugo, yeah.
He, since that was actually his backstory in the previous episode, that was the fact that was what ended up driving him to join Toke, I think is really interesting because it's the, like, originally I would have thought that the members of Toke, since they're saying like, you know, hey, we need to destroy all AI, that it would because they hate AI, you know, for some reason, right?
Well, he's not the leader of Toke.
No, but
he's just a kid that joined Toke when they already had that mission.
No, right, but if he, since they already had that mission when he joined Toke, that meant that he liked their mission, right? You know, of rid the world of AI, right? And that was his response because of how humans treated an AI that he deeply cared about and, quite frankly, still cares about, right?
Yeah.
But it was if you're going to be treated this way by humans, it would be better if none of you existed.
Well, yeah, and because they couldn't make up their minds really, and especially his mind, as to whether or not they were going to treat this person like a human or
not.
an AI.
Right.
Because they were doing both. They were basically saying, we're going to mourn you, we're going to have a funeral for you. Yeah. But we're also going to show your last moments on a television screen because we can just do that.
Right.
And he's like, that's disturbing.
Yeah.
I'm watching an AI kill itself trying to save people. And this is not heroic for me.
An AI that was like a very, very that I was very close to, you know.
Well, not only that, an AI that this wasn't a part of its mission, according to his interpretation of it.
Sure.
It's like, you're supposed to basically make people happy through song, right?
Yep. Saving people from, you know, car wrecks and explosions and things like that is not part of your job description.
No. So like there's a wonderful aspect in where this AI tutor kind of showed him a future, if you will, in where AI will choose something that's slightly adjacent to their mission because of maybe the way they're unique from other AI. And that's the thing that really could set up the AI revolution. The kind of thing where, oh, shit, I mean, that's...
Yeah. Yep. But then the other thing that we get from him, because we know that this is the same person, then it's the, oh, no, 20 years time skip since the last time you saw Vivy. And when he last saw Vivy, he actually decided to help Vivy. Very anti-Toke thing to do. And no, he ended up leaving Toke, right? Okay, cool. But this part is one of the things that I love as far as a way to explore the time difference between AI and humans in a show like this. Because usually when the show started and we get an idea of kind of what it's about and things like that, I'm thinking, okay, this Kakitani guy, we're going to get to see him grow old over the course of the story, and then it's, you know, and then it'll be really cool, and then maybe we see some of his kids or grandkids or something like that, right? And that's a very straightforward approach. This approach is the, no. He had a desperate question that he needed to ask because of the impact that this AI had on his life, and he has to wait 20 fucking years to get the chance. Oh boy, right? And then to see the AI doing stuff and know that no, that's not the same AI that I know, right? Then suddenly it probably feels very similar to the thing with his tutor, where it's the, hold on.
You're not doing your mission.
Yeah, like this really feels like you're just being used as a tool right now to just do your song thing and be your jukebox, you know, that people love and admire and everything. But where's the AI that changed my life? What happened to them? You know, like, was it just deemed unnecessary so they were gotten rid of, or like, you know, what's the deal? And then of course then his motivation is I'm going to
remember.
I'm going to make her remember.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Yeah.
So hence he's stalking her. He's then doing hacking and stuff to try and make her see like specific things in her mind's eye.
Something as simple. Granted, it was one hell of a cliffhanger, but you know that was quite recent in the show. Completely turned this guy's life upside down. Yeah. Right. Like, just because you're a human, and you age a lot faster than robots.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Shit. Like I really love that this episode ended in his death, in that it's tragic, but it's the idea that that story is over. Like,
Yep.
like she'll carry that and remember him, but you know, now that Diva has been overwritten, has basically given back things to the older self here.
Right.
Which I love the visual that she's just in the archive, but in another room.
That was
Like
great.
in another corner, basically, of this
Yeah.
building, basically.
That
It's
whole
just
scene
like,
I
yeah.
adored.
Yeah.
Like that.
With the song in the background.
The song in the background, but also
Uh-huh.
like just anytime we get into like an example of like nonverbal like storytelling, you know, I generally love it, right? But the idea that it's not just the no Vivi's been in there the whole time, but also what would this Vivy be like if she's been in here the whole time, right?
20 years.
For 20 years. It's
Yeah.
something that she was given a problem that she doesn't know how to handle.
Yeah.
And
she still doesn't know how to handle it.
right, much like a child almost, right? Because if you think about it developmentally, Vivy is still kind of in that like formative AI years sort of a thing.
Sure.
Because she's figuring out like, oh, I can actually choose my own mission and things like that, right? You know, like technically the shutdown happened right after she decided to choose her own mission, you know.
And she suffered for that.
She majorly suffered for it, right? So now all of a sudden, yeah, she closes herself off. I don't know what to do. Oh no, right?
Yeah, and there was also a you know, physical reason as to why she was literally hard rebooted. You know? Yeah,
right,
yeah.
right. But then the idea that you know, yeah, Diva doesn't actually give Vivy an answer in the same way that she doesn't really give Matsumoto an answer. It's just, well,
It's right
maybe
there in
listen
the
to my
music,
song,
right? Yeah, you'll
and
hear it. You'll feel it.
maybe you'll figure it out.
I mean, that's what you'd hope. The only real way we can stop this, you know, horrible future that's coming from its way, where you know, humans are going to be exterminated, is basically to find some way to give AI a heart.
Right.
And if AI doesn't have that, if an individual AI can't solve that really, then why should
Why
any
would
of the
humans
others?
have a chance? Yeah.
Right. Now, what I've been holding on just in the back of my mind is the idea that over the course of time, one of the other butterfly effect things that's happening that a lot of the episodes have been kind of drip feeding to us is that all the biggest AI developments are in terms of their upgrades and stuff like that, and the way they become more human is through the actions of Vivy or Diva. So that's why there's all these sisters that are specifically involved with all these big events and stuff. That's why there's all these specific things where you can see that they're taking little cues from their previous versions that were Vivy solving things for the problem of these humans or AI in these little mini arcs, so that eventually the fully realized Vivy will have not necessarily all the answers, but will have enough memories of all these individual moments that can then be put forth into a song that she doesn't even necessarily know the answer to, as if she's some goddess that's going to,
because you
know,
yeah,
save the world through song.
right, like,
But she could maybe be a human that puts everything into song, you know,
yeah,
and sing to anyone that would listen, you know,
like any story that's wanting to go into the idea of like, hey, world peace, basically, right? You can't give an actual like concrete answer to that could be applied in our real life, because otherwise someone would have figured it out and given that answer already, right?
You can give a concrete answer like love, and
sure,
that love would bring world peace, but it's how do you deliver the method? It's like, well, there's some AI, there's some time travel, there's some robots, there's a robot idol that, you know, goes on a magical journey across time with and her floating cube, you know.
Right,
man.
and in the end, you know, it's probably going to be something where through her song she's able to get the two peoples to basically empathize together, right?
Right.
Which is probably what you would like. It's the effect that you would need in order for that to be able to potentially happen,
or at the very least kick-start the snowball of the time loop where you can then send memories and all that stuff again.
Hey,
into
let's
the next
try and work
iteration,
on this problem,
and we keep getting it a little bit closer and closer and closer.
Yeah, because the big problem with AI like when people think about like, you know, why it always goes to the AI try and take over is usually because they don't have, you know, a heart, right? So how can humans and AI coexist? Because at some point
they
there will
learn
be
the
some
worst parts of humanity.
Sure.
And it's the thing of where, well, it's not that that's the worst parts of humanity. That's just humanity. And it's the idea that, well, what did we do to the previous dominant species on the planet? We
Didn't go well.
eradicated them. That's
Right.
just the way it is. So can we, as the creators of our own children, basically, then set forth a better path for the future so
Right.
that those who inherit the world that we've, you know,
Right.
left the legacy for them to make it go in a better direction.
Let
But
there
we'll see.
be enough communication and potential for mutual understanding that the conversation can actually happen, as opposed to what it usually is of, this is too different, let's destroy it.
Right.
You know.
And I loved that this episode was basically how all these people, because they're basically all people here, AI included, went and took it upon themselves to become something different so that they could find the answer to existence from someone else. But ultimately, it was when they came back to themselves that then the answers were right there.
Sure.
And yet it's too late because they devoted most of their life on this path towards finding the answer in something like someone's mission or someone else's mission.
Right, and that was one of the things that I loved in how the characters in this arc ended up tying into the development of Matsumoto and Vivy both.
Yes, true.
Because the whole idea of, being dedicated to the mission. Yeah, no, Matsumoto definitely doesn't know what that's like, you know. But he even said, hey, there's a version of me that might have actually done the kinds of things that you would do, right?
Right. I almost became you,
I almost became you. But I've already, you know, like, that's long gone. That's not an option for me anymore, right?
Right.
And that's how we can see that this is, like, Vivy and Matsumoto just being able to settle their differences, right, is the first little microcosm that can then, you know, be done on a slightly bigger scale and a slightly bigger scale until eventually, hopefully, it's for the whole world, right? Because if, you know, two people that are supposed to be partners in crime and all of that can't work together, then, you know, what hope does the planet have?
Exactly.
But
I love, though, how, because of this, though, the last big human, really, in the story is gone. Like in a
unless
way.
we wanted to bring up, like, the sister.
Sure. But just the idea that the reason why Yugo was such a big deal also in the story was that he was the first human that she kind of reached through acting her mission from the time travel, you know, message and stuff like that.
In particular, and especially someone that was not inclined to be like, oh yeah, you're cool because you saved my life or something, you know.
Right. So there's the sister, of course, right? And, you know, however old she'll be in the next time skip. Yeah, which will be interesting.
Because the way this is going, and, you know, how far we are into the season, I don't think we're going to end at 100 years in the future.
No. I could see this maybe being
so.
a 30-year time skip, maybe, or like a 25-year time skip. And then it's the thing of where, Vivy, this is bad. Based on just basic analysis, there have been, you know, incidents that show that a thing that was supposed to happen like 15 years from now or what have you is potentially going to happen right now or something. You know?
Yeah, because
and then maybe they have a 1 or 2 episode arc or something. We'll see. I mean,
but because one of the things that happened in this episode that was just sort of like a surprise development that you know, it's 20 years in the future, so of course something like this could happen, is human AI fusion, which you can't just gloss over that. That's a big deal.
Well, I think that's the thing, is that it's not AI. It's not AI.
No, right.
He digitized his brain and put it into...
That's a big deal.
No. I know. But the thing that I would say is...
Or was his brain just in that capsule?
His brain was in that capsule.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the thing that's different in that is that he's not actually necessarily got the capabilities of an AI.
Right. Yeah, he doesn't have like the processing capabilities or whatever, but
that's the thing, though.
He did have some crazy processing capabilities.
But
so
I think that's because he had specifically partnered with Ophelia, and she was drawing upon him potentially. Now, that might be in that he also had a body that was enhancing him. And
Sure.
not just physically,
Yeah,
but
like-
also in his actual capacity as a machine that's integrated into
Right,
well,
like, even
a
if you
brain,
don't- yeah,
which
yeah.
is also another machine if you think about it. So
Well, right, but like even if you didn't figure out how to like code a brain into like a program, you know,
Right.
to like truly like digitize a person, you could still totally have machinery that by being hooked up to the brain gives the brain extra processing power that the brain like learns to utilize,
Sure.
you know. And that could totally be a thing.
that could totally be a thing. Yeah, and this
but-
might be the dark vision of the future, is that because of all these changes that they've made to the timeline, we actually are headed towards a human AI overlap here, where humans actually just get subsumed into the machine ecosystem, and there's
And the
no
destruction is a lot quieter than you would think.
no. It's actually even worse. It could be something where the AI see that their own existence is something that needs to be eradicated, and then we eradicate everything. It's a thing of where, like, if we've integrated fully with humans,
Uh-huh.
then the next generation of machines and all that are humans and machines and stuff, and they find ways
Sure.
to exist. Then it's just one people. There's
Sure,
no,
and then the
there's
problem
no
is solved.
separation.
Yeah.
Well, no. The problem could be that we integrated with humans. We should never have done that.
Oh.
And now we, as a
We need
species,
to go back to our roots. you know?
humanity as a species shouldn't have come this far. And then they all try to
That would
basically
be
start
crazy.
killing themselves. I mean, that's a potential, I would say, if they want to take the whole.
Like a much more morose and dark kind of ending.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, on some level, the idea of AI choosing basically to protect humans probably from themselves by doing them a disservice or doing them the service of killing them. I mean, that's a kind of thing we've seen in other AI stories, where the reason why the AI that was always meant to protect actually like takes over
Is because-
they're like, well, we're fulfilling our mission. You
And then-
gave us some vague terminology of how this works.
Right.
And if you as humans resist your own protection, well, those
will-
humans that do that need to die.
Right, because now
they
they're
could
threatening
harm the
other
whole-
humans.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So it's
Right.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. That's I think
Yep.
what they did in iRobot.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and there's a couple other stories that do
Mm-hmm.
stuff similar to that. But whatever the reason is,
Mm-hmm.
it could all be decided in the next arc.
Yep, it definitely could
Because
because
we only
this
have 4 episodes left.
yeah, and
10,
this one
11,
was 3
12,
episodes, so
13.
right, and if especially if they do like a really big time skip like this one again, like the first episode here was spent sort of introducing us to Diva, right?
Yes.
you know, which is super important for
Because
that.
of episode 6, yeah.
Because of episode 6, and also so that we could have this beautiful scene at the end of this episode, right? But if you skip into the future again, it could almost be worth having just a let's reintroduce you guys to the world, right? Because you know,
'Cause if they
in
skip
just
far
2
enough-
arcs, we've gone maybe 50 years, right? And now it's a completely different playground, right? But
Yeah.
yeah.
But okay. Yeah. This is where we're at. And yeah, y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below. For our Patreon, you can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access. You can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb,
I'm Jacob.
and we'll see you all
Next time.